Hi, I'm going to show you how to paint the combined value intensity color grid. We're using complementary colors, so we have a primary color blue with its complement orange. We have a supply of white paint and a supply of black paint. So the handout that I designed, I purposely chose the size of the circles. These are small circles because you only need a little bit of black. These circles increase in size because you should increase the amount of the secondary color you have. These decrease in size, decrease the amount of the primary color you have, and these are all the same. You need a pretty good amount of white to finish this. The color pairs you can choose from are red and green, yellow plus purple, and blue plus orange. Those are complementary color pairs, so that's the only choices that you have for this exercise. I'm going to set this to the side. My finished work is going to go on this chart, and it corresponds to the paint palette that I'm using that I just showed you. So right down the center is where we're going to put these colors once we mix them. The white is going to be used to complete these two colors where it says tint. And then the black we're going to use in these two colors where it says shade. So first I'm going to show you how to mix these colors straight down the center. The first one just stays plain by itself. It's just plain blue. The second one we want to use the orange, which is the complement, to make the blue look a little less bright. So we're going to just take some on the brush and mix it in. And I can use my whole supply of blue because I want a pretty good amount of this dull blue that I'm going to be making. And I can tell it changed. I don't know if it picks up very well on the camera. I add a little more just to go ahead and make it a little more dull. That looks pretty good. Make sure it's all blended. I'm rolling my brush to get the paint worked all the way through. I want it blended well because I don't want streaks. And then I'm going to rinse my brush and dry it on some paper towels, trying to get all the water out. This one I want to do a little bit closer to a half and half mixture. The blue's a bit darker than the orange, so I'll probably use all of the orange, but maybe not quite all the blue. First I'm just going to push some blue in there and test it. It should look sort of brown. And there we go, right in the middle. If it looks too blue, I would push in some more orange. If it looked too orange, I would push in more of the blue. But they're complementary colors, so they should combine to make a neutral. And brown is our neutral there. Rinsing. Get all the water out. This time I want an orange that's dull, so you use the opposite, the blue, to make the orange look a little dull. I'm just going to take a small amount to begin with. And I should get a color that I could use maybe to paint a pumpkin or something like that. Making the shadows on a pumpkin. There we go. So that's still orange, but it's just not a very bright and pretty orange. And then the last row I'm leaving as just plain orange. Now what I want to do is transfer each one of these 5 colors over onto my painting sheet. So you can see there's row 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'm going to move this to the side. And then what I'm going to do, first the blue goes here. And when you paint yours, I want you to do it very carefully and slowly. I want you to get into the corners, so make sure you've chosen your brush well. Probably need a brush with a little bit of a point on it. If you don't like the brush that you're using, you can feel free to try another one. Just make sure that you clean everything that you use. I usually kind of outline a little bit and then I fill in. So again, I'm just going to do this quickly. Make sure your paint's nice and thick. Again, keep the water out of your brush. If you put it on nice and thick, you should be able to cover up the printed words that are on your sheet here. Rinsing my brush, drying it. This is my second color, goes here. So again, I'm going to paint fairly quickly. You can tell it's a little bit more dull than that first one. The first blue is nice and bright. This blue is a little bit more dull. It's still a pretty color. A little more. There we go. And again, you stay on the lines and paint nicely. I'm painting quickly for demonstration purposes. Just fill it in really nice and thick. Rinse, dry, and now for this neutral that I made, kind of a brownish, icky color. It's almost a gray. Get it in the corners, the edges, all the way to the bottom. When you're painting, don't leave any white gaps in between your squares. I'm going to smooth it out, make sure it's nice and thick, and rinse my brush, dry it, and go on to my dull orange. Now when you mix your colors, you may not get the exact same colors that I get. That's okay. It's because you may use your paint a little differently from me. We can have lots of different versions of these colors in here. Your orange at this stage may be a little brighter than the one that I've made, and that's fine. What you want to look for as you finish is to see if your paints look like they go in sequence. So we should see a change from this nice bright blue getting dull, more neutral, and then shifting over into the orange. It should look like they go together. Okay. Again, yours is going to be a lot neater because you're going to paint slow, nice and even. You're going to get all those corners and edges, no white gaps. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is work on these two columns here. I want to paint this one first and then that one. So they're numbered up here. I just did that column first. This was my second one, and this is my third one. To make this column, I'm going to take this color I had here and put it into my white, mix and paint, and then I'm going to do it a second time. I'm going to take a little bit more of that color, put it in the white, mix and paint here. So I'll show you how to mix the first one. I'm going to take a little bit of this blue, and I'm going to mix it right in the white. And what I'll get is a nice light blue. Roll my brush to get all the paint out of there. I don't want it streaky when I put it on my painting. Roll, and I think that's ready. I'm going to roll it just to try to get it into a point. So that's going to go in this first one right there. So this goes here. I'm going to paint quick. You guys do it slow and neat. Okay, and then a second time. So I'm going to clean my brush. I'm going to take a little of that blue, put it back in that light blue, and I should get one that looks sort of in between those first two colors. I'm sort of working on the edge of this pile. I'm not using the whole thing. There, I think that'll do it. Roll, mix, get rid of the streaks, roll. There's my second one. Okay. And then you're going to continue and do that all the way down these two columns. So you're going to mix this once into white, a second time, once into white, a second time, once into white, second time, once, second. So I'm going to try to work quickly. Notice I'm just using my row 2 paints now. It should look slightly different than that one on the first row. Mix, roll, first box. Looks very similar, but when they dry, hopefully they'll just look slightly different. That should look a little grayer. And then I'm going to take a little bit from the side over here, and I see that I got some white into my supply. That can cause a problem later. I'll explain that when we get to it. Roll and mix. Second one. You can tell by comparing this and that this one looks a little less bright, more dull. Okay, I'm going to rinse, dry. I'm going to take this gray color, put it in the edge of this pile, and you can see you actually get a really nice gray. You wouldn't even know that that is made from blue with orange together. Roll it in there. Goes in my first box. And then I'm going to take a little more. I'm going to get some white in here too, but I'm going to be careful later. Roll it out of there. Okay, that looks pretty nice. That can go here. Yep, looks a little grayer, not quite so light. And I'm on to my fourth row, which is that very dull orange. I rinsed my brush and dried it. Mix that dull orange into my white. I'll actually get a pretty color, even though I don't think that's quite so pretty. This is sort of a nice peach color. First box. And then one more time. I'm going to rinse this time. Okay, so a little bit more of this. Just on the edge of it. until I think I have enough to cover that square. There you go. And I'm ready for my last one. Rinse. A little bit of orange into the white. It'll look similar to row 4, but it should look a little cleaner, a little brighter. Now, you may want to think about changing your water at some point too. If you have a lot of paint in your water will actually become paint and it will start coloring your colors. So you're not going to be in control of the colors you're getting. You can tell that light one looks a little bit different from row 4. Okay, and this is the last time we're going to be using the white on this page, this painting. And there we go. Okay, now we're going to work only on this side. We're going to be adding black to our color supply. So here's black. We're going to actually put the black into there. It's always easier to mix. You're going to have more control if you put the darker colors into the lighter ones. So I'm going to take a little bit of black and put it just here on the edge of my blue. I'm going to pull out a pretty good amount. And hopefully you'll see it change. If you don't notice much change, you can put a little drop more, but be careful. Don't get it too dark all at once. That looks like it changed. I'm rolling my brush still. I'm working it all through the supply. This is going to go here this time. So we're in the 4th column. The handout says 4 here. Okay, so we're in the 4th column. A nice dark blue. It'll look pretty similar to this one here. And then I'm going to do that one more time. So I'm taking some more black, putting it in that blue, just on the edge of that pile. And that should be a very dark shade. If you were calling that black, you would call it a cool black because it has a lot of blue in it. So it makes a cool black, or it's just an extremely dark black. Rinse my brush, and I'm going on to my row 2 paints here. I'm going to take some black, put it into this color I made here. I'm being careful to stay out of that, and I'm being careful to stay out of that white. So I'm right here on the edge, trying not to mix into the blue above it. A little more, I think. Okay, let's give that a test. Roll, blend, and let's test that. Yeah, that looks darker. And it's definitely different from the one above it. It's a little bit less bright. Okay, one more time with that. So some more black right in the middle of all that. A little bit more maybe. Mix, mix, roll. Let's see how we did. You know what, I think it is darker. It's very similar. If you're not happy with it, you can put a little more black in it, but I think that's actually going to be okay. And I did leave this kind of thin. Remember that I want you to have your paints nice and thick. Keep the water out of your brush, keep drying your brush. So I just washed my brush and dried it. A little black into this 3rd row. And I think it needs a drop more. There we go. Mix, roll. There's that. Remember, keep it thick. I would probably add some more paint to that, make it thicker, you know, go back and put another layer on. And then some more black. See if you can get it going pretty dark here. That's going to go here. That's my brush. For row 4, little black. That was a lot. I'm going to wipe some off. So anytime you need to wipe it off, just dab it a little bit. Going here. Getting a really icky color now. Put that there. Yep. Looks different from that one. Doesn't look the same as that, so we're doing good. One more time with the black. Mix that all in. That was quite a bit, so I'm trying to pull all this paint in. There we go. Okay, keep your paint thick. Remember, I want yours thick and nice, not thin and watery, not messy. Keep your paint thick and stay in the lines. A little black in my orange. It's going to be pretty similar to that color we made when we had the orange and we added blue to it, but it should look just slightly different. I didn't blend it very well. You can see some black streaks in there. So I'm going to roll my brush a little and blend. Okay, last square. A little black, mixing it. Get it blended. This time I'm going to do a better job mixing it all in. And there we go. Okay, so that's what it looks like. I'm going to show you a finished one that looks really pretty. This is one I did a little more carefully. You can see I filled the colors in better. I stayed in the lines nicely. And the next thing that we can do is we'll take some black strips, some construction paper that we've cut thin, and we'll glue it across all the lines so that we make a grid both directions. And then we can mat it on some other construction paper, and it'll look really pretty when it's all cleaned up and finished. Don't forget to put your name on your paper, and it goes in the drying rack. Hope you have fun!